You were tuned in to episode 125, 125, the Goodfellas podcast. It's your boy G5 Jeff TV, aka G5, aka 5, aka the Guru. And I got everybody's favorite OG, my favorite big bro, Boxing First Vlog, aka the General, aka Blunt, aka Blunt Bayless, aka Mr. 1K. What's going on, big bro?
Oh man, I just wanted to give a shout out to the younger me. He saved my life, so I owe the young boy. You feel me? That's why I'm real solid right now. You dig? So that being said, man, let's just get to it, bro.
Yeah, let's get to it. Big shout out to VP Shane, man. He'll be up in here, man. Big shout out to the gang for holding it down. Yesterday had to get some plumbing done and stuff like that.
I mean, sometimes, you got to take care of yourself, man. Sometimes you got to put that pipe work in.
It wasn't that pipe work, but big shout out to my guys for holding it down, man. And I think that's one of the minor adjustments we made, because sometimes things happen and I don't communicate with them saying, hey, I'm not gonna be able to jump on. So we kind of made a point to be like, hey, if one man can't go up, let's see if the next person can jump on. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to the gang for that.
Appreciate you.
Let's get right to it, man. Let's get right to it, man. AJ basically agreed to terms that Fury set out, and we're wondering whether a fight is going to be had on December 3rd. But I do want to address something that Boxing First Vlog actually mentioned a little earlier, and I think it's an interesting take, and I kind of want to read it verbatim. I don't want to quote the man wrong. Let's see. Where you at? You said it was a short, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
You can play that slapper too, because that's my music.
Okay. I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? I could just pull it up. Duh.
That's all.
Hold on. Duh. I just had a moment. Hold on a second, fellas. Hold on.
Advancing the channel, you know what I mean?
We just doing what we do. You know what I'm saying? And for the people that's looking for Shane will be in here momentarily. So,
me and Shane did some good numbers yesterday,
bro. There's some
held it down.
Some real good numbers. So what I'm gonna do? Let's share. We're gonna share the screen.
And we were just spitballing yesterday because, obviously we didn't get the news we got today. And you know what I'm saying? We're just getting that much closer to Triple G. But it's still, you can have interesting conversations in boxing that, all the fans can be a part of, especially in the chat with us, because, we interact with our chat way more than a lot of other podcasts do. So, oh, yeah, that's your boy. That's my slap, too. If y'all need to use that, man, send your boy a bag. I got you.
Hold on. So I'm going to leave it like that for a moment. Can you see the screen? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so I'm gonna read it real quick. So it say, do you believe we will get the super fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua? Head on over to YouTube, Boxing Voice, and check out this and more full episodes of our daily boxing podcast with interviews highlighting fighters, managers, promoters, announcers, and even referees. It's a must watch. Listen for any hardcore boxing fan. And my main man responded with, you want to read that, partner?
Man, I said, what the feezy? How is this a super fight? Dude coming off back-to-back losses. Please stop. Y'all trying to become lamestream. Did I say that? Lamestream media?
Lamestream media.
Yeah, not mainstream. Lamestream. Because that dude, I think he just do that just to be a clown. He really feels a lot of the things he says. So for me, if you're not authentic, then you just kind of kicking up dust to troll or whatever, bro. So you can't be one of the boxing voice and you're a troll and you put out troll captions like that, bro. Come on now. Like I said, it's common sense. You cannot have a super fight when one of the opponents is coming off back-to-back losses. that doesn't make any sense. It's just another heavyweight title fight. That's all it is. And it's a cupcake fight if you really want to look at it. Because look, if he had an issue with a guy that's smaller than him, what do you think he's going to have? He's not going to have a problem with a guy that's bigger than him and that can box just as, I guess, as well as you could say Usyk can box. Maybe without the you know what I'm saying, the pivots and things like that. But I think Tyson can pivot once or twice in the fight if he really has to. But that being said, though, bro, just keep it authentic with the fans. That's all I ask as a boxing fan myself and as a member of this podcast and media that everybody doing now. But at least, like I said, man, I keep it solid, though, bro. And my catch-up wasn't the fight. Let the fight happen. Obviously, we got to get some big names kind of getting in there together. It just happened to be this dude is coming off 2 losses, so it's not technically a super fight. It could still be a good fight. Hopefully, Robert Garcia can improve. Being on a bad run that he's on, continuing a bad run, getting with AJ and coming out on the losing side again. So I don't know, bro. All of these things, like I just mentioned, make it not a super fight.
I just want to ask this question. Do I have permission to play the beat?
Man, that's slappers, homie. Do that. I'm multi-dimensional over here, man. So, like I said, if y'all need to use that beat, man, holla at your boy, man. I got you.
I'm gonna play it one time. I'm gonna play it right now. That's that six-fold music right there for the people that don't know.
You know what it is. You know what it is. Town business.
Yeah, that's definitely rolling up in the 6-4. Yeah,
that's slappers.
Rolling up in the 6-4 for sure. Big shout out to my boxing son Chris G. Laughing at vlog. Yeah, listen, for the record, I was not putting down that type of pipe work. Not yesterday. Not yesterday. So Brennan Smith, I'm looking forward if they made it. Brennan, big shout out to you, bro. You always up in here, man.
Shout out to Brennan.
Yes, sir. I hope Triple G wins, but I'm not going to buy it. Fair enough. That's how you feeling. He said I buy it because many. He said I'm a Fury fan. So listen. So
okay.
I want to respond. Hold on, Vlog. Let me respond to what you said as far as the boxing voice is concerned. So with the boxing voice, right? And I want people to understand this. It doesn't matter how many numbers you have. We're gonna hold everyone accountable. Like that's just how we operate. Like we're gonna hold everyone or try to hold everyone accountable as much as we can, just like people should hold us accountable. Because I say it all the time, you got to be responsible with that microphone in your hand. Got to be responsible with that thing. And it's no hate towards the boxer voice or nothing like that. If that's how my man feeling, that's how he was feeling. You know what I'm saying? And they are top 10 in terms of YouTube boxing media coverage in terms of popularity. They are top 10. They have to be held accountable because there are so many people that are listening to them. We can't have, some garbage being, spewed out. So, like I said, that's how my man feeling. And listen, that was one of the channels I was listening to first starting out before I started my channel. Big shout out to Mario Munguia. You know what I'm saying? Like, big shout out to him. But that's how my man feeling. That's how he feeling. Now, we can give you an opportunity to respond to that. You got no problem with that. There's absolutely no problem. You know what I'm saying? But that's how he was feeling. Now, me personally, I wish they would have said a super fight for the hardcores. You know what I'm saying? I wish they said a super fight for the hardcore fans. For the people that don't know,
for the hardcores, bro, can I use another word?
I'm sorry, not for the hardcores. I meant the casuals. I'm sorry for the casuals. My bad. We got the we got VP Shane in the building, aka the Heartbreak Kid.
What's up?
breaking all the ladies' hearts and shit.
Big man, that's hey. Let me keep it so honest, man. Shane, he colder than a hooker's heart out here in these streets, boy. I'm telling you, man. Y'all do not want this.
What did I do this time?
I don't know what you did, bro.
He ain't do nothing, Playboy. I just know, you know what I mean? It might be some smoke when we get to bringing up this topic and how to describe this fight.
What we talking about?
I'm gonna bring this up. Hold on, before we get started, man. The joint did good numbers yesterday. We got good numbers in here.
Bro, we had a lot of people in there. We had a lot of people in there as well. There was a few people in there.
I seen it. I think capped out at like maybe 21, something like that. But it was a good joint. But I actually want to show because vlog not been going back and forth, but he responded to something that the Boxing Voice put up. Have you seen it, Shane?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show it.
I want to see. I want to make my response before I see Blunt's response.
As far as
you said he responded to it.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna his response is there on the bottom, but I
don't want to see his response yet. I want to make my mind up first.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, Shane, I'm gonna read it, right? And then I'm gonna show the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna read it, you give me your response, then I'm gonna show the screen. All right. So hold on a second. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna do it this way. I'm reading from my phone. Hold on. So all right. So Shane, this is Boxing First Vlog. This is the comment from the Boxing Voice. Yeah. So they said, "Do you believe we will get the super fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua?" Head on over to youtube.com, Boxing Voice. Check out this and more full episodes, daily boxing podcast with interviews, highlights, fighters, managers, promoters, announcers, and even referees. It is a must watch. Do you believe this is a super fight?
Me? Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, because that's basically
financially,
outside of financial. I think not.
The fact that it's not for undisputed does remove some of the niceties from it, but I still think it's a super fight.
You still think it's a super fight? Well, Vlog about to come at your neck then.
I'll tell you why before I hear Vlog's response. I understand why you're not saying why you say no.
You know, bro. You know, super's a big word, bro.
Let me explain why. Go ahead. Will this fight be spoken about in 10 years' time?
I don't know.
Will this fight? I'm looking at this fight as an equivalent level of Nigel Benn and Eubank. Is that not a super fight?
I think in the UK it was definitely a super fight, and you know that's one of my favorite trilogies.
It's a historical event. It's a historical event. So, in my opinion, when you look at it from that perspective, and I guess it's a cultural thing. You come from America, I come from the UK, but it is still arguably two of the best heavyweights in this era. Going back at it, I think Wilder and Fury is a super fight. I think AJ and Klitschko is a super fight. I think the fights that, certain fights encapsulate a certain era of boxing. Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, you see my point? Joe Frazier, George Foreman. Like, sometimes it's just about a fight encapsulating that era of boxing. So because of that, I think when you look at this era of modern day heavyweight boxing, I feel like in 10 years time, 20 years time, they will talk about this fight. So that's why I think it's a super fight.
I'm going to show Vlog's response. Hold on.
Can I say one thing before you do it, though?
Yes, sir.
I'm not a fan of Canelo versus Golovkin, but that is a super fight.
The third one?
Yeah.
That is mandatory. That's a must. That's a fight that should have been done 2 years ago.
But it's still a super fight. It's still a super fight.
I can't argue with that. That's a super fight. That's a super fight. First of all, Canelo's only coming off of one loss, and it was against a guy bigger than him. So it's justifiable why you can overlook that loss with him going into this Triple G fight and still categorize it as a super fight. Why? Because it's historical. The end is the final caption, the final chapter of a trilogy. We'll get to see who walks away with true bragging rights. You see what I'm saying? If the work in the ring supports the proper decision. You see what I'm saying? Because we know what the politics of boxing is when it comes to Saul Alvarez. You got to draw on one of them. I thought Triple G won that fight clearly. Give him the I don't know which one it was that I give him, the second one or the first one. I can't remember, but this one is highly anticipated. My thing is, it shouldn't be a weight issue because, again, with you fluctuating in weight the way you have, that's going to be your number one, I guess, excuse when you lose this fight, because I got Triple G winning this fight.
What is comments on the AJ Fury, John?
I'm about to show it right now.
Man, bro.
I'm about to show it right now. Hold on.
This is going to be fun.
Hold on. This is definitely going to be fun. Hold on a second.
This is going to be fun. I'm just psyching myself up for this, bro.
Okay. So, hold on. Let me take Brennan's off. You want to read that vlog?
Man, scroll it up, man, so I can see the whole thing, because I don't remember the wordplay like that.
What was this on?
I say what the feezy. That's for anybody that understand turf talk. That's basically saying what the fuck, but trying to be, gentlemanly about it. How is this a super fight? Dude coming off back-to-back losses.
To the same
Please
fight.
stop.
To the same
again, still back-to-back losses. So you giving Fury hella credit for coming off of 3 straight quote-unquote wins against the same fighter? Y'all put Fury on the mountaintop. Y'all put Fury on the goddamn mountaintop.
Oh, you ain't finished your comment, brother.
Again, let me get to it. Please stop. Y'all trying to become lamestream media. Because that shit is hella lame what that dude be doing over there. All that hollering and all that goofy ass shit. Just stop, bro. Let's talk boxing and keep it with that, bro.
Me and you will talk boxing all day, bro. So let's talk boxing. The reason why I say, and let's keep it real, the reason why I say that I'm still waiting to see. Super fights are fights that stand the test of time. Fights that stand the test of time. That's a super fight to me. And this fight stands the test of time.
let me ask you, so to respond to that, that's coming as to say that you need AJ so to do a certain thing to make it a super fight. So AJ coming and losing doesn't make it a super fight. AJ coming and winning, then in 10 years we could probably be like, yo, that was a super fight. Old boy came off back-to-back losses, turned around, still became 3-time world heavyweight champion, blah, blah, blah.
Do you know Mike Tyson had back-to-back losses in his career?
I never said, we're not talking about Mike Tyson in any super fights. We're not talking about Mike Tyson. AJ can never touch Mike Tyson's pinnacle. He's still looking up.
But now I hear what you're saying, but the same stick that you're using to beat AJ, I can use to beat Mike Tyson. He lost 2 fights back-to-back to the same fighter.
Okay. When was he in the super fight after that? When was anybody saying he was in a super fight?
Mike Tyson.
It's not a super fight. Hold up, bro. It's not a super fight when everybody knew Mike was going to lose. How was it a super fight? When you know the results of it.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. Was that not a super fight? Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson.
Oh, you asking me?
I don't know how when it was 5 to 8 years too late. Easy 5 to 8 years.
So was Pacquiao and Floyd. That was 5 to 8 years too late as well.
Yeah,
not a super fight.
What?
All right, let me get.
Pacquiao missed Pacquiao missed 800 punches. How was that a super fight?
How was it a super fight? We got two different definitions of super fights. Then we got two different definitions of super fights.
So
super fight is when both dudes bring it. When both do, go ahead, Jeff. Talk, Jeff. Let me. My apologies.
No, you good. So do I think Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson was a super fight? Yes, I do, but I'm gonna tell you why though. Mike Tyson, even with the losses, his name was so massive. It was kind of hard for him not to be in a super fight. It was kind of just his name, his aura, it was Mike. Like it's kind of like if Mike Jordan stepped on the court, is it a big game? More than likely, it's probably going to be a big game. It was kind of the same thing with Mike Tyson. But Vlog, you are correct. The majority of us knew that Lewis was going to put them paws on Tyson. Agreed. Now, the question is, if you know the result, does that still stop it from being a super fight?
Yes, bro. Let me clarify what a super fight is. Let me clarify what a super fight is. A super fight actually happens inside the ring. The fight makes it historical. The outcome makes it historical. It can't be a one-sided victory in Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao and say, "Oh, well, that was a super fight." No, it did a lot of money. It did a lot of money, but it wasn't a super fight because Pacquiao couldn't land a fucking punch. Again, Mike Tyson.
Let me go check.
Let me cook.
Go ahead, let him cook up.
How you gonna checkmate me? How you gonna checkmate me? And I'm just starting the water to boil, young buck. Slow down, baby. Young Aki. You know what I'm saying? He trying to drive and he ain't even took his permit test. Take it easy. Check it out. But like I'm saying, again, we talking Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis. The super fight in that scenario would have been when Lennox Lewis was position-wise, a contender, mandatory for Mike Tyson. That's when that would have been a super fight. So when you paying people off to avoid them, that kind of down the line still don't make that a super fight. It was a super fight when you ducked it the first time. That being said, let's get back to this particular scenario. Super fight. To me, super fight is what the product tells me. What happens in the ring. Super fights. Pacquiao Morales. Super fights. Them dudes was going back and forth. Super fights. Agati Ward. Super fights, bro. Come on now. That the results. What happened in the ring tells us if it's a super fight. We can't say before.
Fury and AJ ain't fought yet. So how can you say that? Fury and AJ may become one of those type of fights.
That's the key. That's the key. I never said it can't be a super fight. I just said it's not one right now. Peep the comment. I never said it would never be a super fight. If AJ goes in there and shows us something, pulls off the victory, then yeah, we can sit back and be like, yo, that was a super fight. The bull came out of no.
I think we have two different definitions. I'll tell you why, bro.
Exactly.
Hold on, real quick, Shane. Before you cook, I promise you, I'm gonna let you cook. So, Shane, I know you're gonna describe what your definition of a super fight is. What I want you to do is answer this question in the mix. Can a fight not be considered a super fight going in, but is considered a super fight afterwards based off of the type of fight it was? Go. It's on you, Shane.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for Blunt to answer that question.
No. You cook.
I did.
No, you cook.
I answered it.
To piggyback off what Jeff just said, I'll give you an example. Duran versus Hearns. That was as one-sided as any fight can be. But if you ask anyone who was from the 80s and 70s, or who's from that era of boxing, 80s, 90s, 70s, they will talk about Hearn, Duran, Hagler, and Leonard. But Hearns and Duran was one-sided. It was so one-sided. That was a one-sided beatdown until some dude got knocked out ice cold. That was that fight. So I'm in my mind, that's a super fight because that fight stood the test of time. We're still talking about that fight 40 years time, and people will still reference that fight despite the fact that it was one-sided. Another example of that is, to me, and this is just one of the things where you got to also look at, Jeff spoke about the fact that Mike Tyson and his aura and his air of invincibility. If we keep it all the way 100, every single super fight Mike Tyson was in, if we're going by Blunt's definition, every single super fight Mike Tyson was in, he lost. If we're going by Blunt's definition, because every other fight that he's been in was one-sided. Buster Douglas, he lost. Evander Holyfield 2 times he lost, and we're not saying Lennox Lewis. So he wasn't in any super fights in his entire career other than the ones that he lost, because none of those fights were remotely close to being 50-50. None of those fights were remotely close to being a Ward Gatti type performance. None of them. He knocked out Spinks in 35 seconds. People still talk about that fight. He knocked out, but what's my dude's name? Trevor Berbick. He knocked out Larry Holmes. None of those fights were 50-50.
Yeah, let me slow you down right here. And the reason why you can say Mike probably never had a super fight, because the change of the guard. He caught a bunch of dudes that was on their way to the motherfucking doctors. So that being said, you can see, and then he took a setback. So when it was his time to kind of really get his aura back, he had years away from the sport that didn't do him well. You see what I'm saying? Right. Then you lose your key trainer. So I could say Mike, he missed out on what potentially could have been super fights based on him not performing. That's why. So yes, you could say he didn't have a super fight.
That's why I would say I'm struggling to subscribe. I'm not saying that Blunt is wrong, by the way, because I agree. If we're talking about in-fight spectacle, I 100% see where he's coming from. Why I'm struggling to agree with that definition is because when you look at what stands the test of time in terms of history and in terms of the the textbook, the books, when people look back into the archives of boxing, the fights that stand the test of time are the fights that can capture the public's imagination, where they can almost reminisce on a certain fight, and obviously if a fight's 50-50 like a Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, then 100% that's a super fight. But if a fight's like a Joe Frazier, George Foreman,
not a super fight.
But to me, that has to be a super fight.
So
that has to be a super fight.
Let me add this real quick, because I like the way both y'all cooking right now. Let's not forget that there is a difference between a super fight and a classic. There's a difference between a super fight and a classic. I know there was an example or two that I heard, and I would consider them classics because of the performance. Kind of a super fight is more so going into it than final result, in my opinion. But you can argue it either way, to be honest with you. And I actually want people in the comment section to actually put down, what's your definition of a super fight?
I don't disagree with Jet Blunt.
I don't know. I don't neither. Like it's really just a matter of your definition. It's just a matter of your definition. I'm
gonna get your tentacles working. You understand me? So I get you to put the tinfoil kufi on and really think about it.
I don't even think Blunt's disagreeing with me. I don't
think so either. I don't think so either.
Nah.
No, it's just, what I'm saying? Two different chefs in the kitchen, that's all. I
mean, you like sea salt, I like regular salt.
Yeah, it's fine. He like Morton's. Andre Southgate in the building, man. He says salute all here listening, man. Big shout out to Andre Southgate, man. If you're not subscribed,
Andre, answer that, bro. Please, Andre. I fucks with you. You know I do.
Okay. He already did.
My God, Michael Johnson in the building. He said, probably do have a fight because Usyk too busy playing pickup basketball games. That's funny, bro. Big shout out to you though. Southgate, I don't think it's a super fight. It's definitely a prize fight, exciting fight for heavyweight. the fact that Joshua lost to Ruiz Usyk doesn't make it a super fight at this time is a great fight. Fair explanation.
But that's basically why I feel that way. You can't come off of just bad performances and then say I'm in a super fight. Like it just doesn't compute. You understand what I'm saying? We're talking logic, bro.
Yeah.
Now to defend Shane's point of view, his performance can make this historical, legendary, super fight, classic, all of that above. I think it's based on his performance. He had a great performance against Usyk. Again, my man got gas tank issues. He don't show up in them championship rounds. Those are the rounds we remember. Those are the rounds that make it a nail biter.
No, I feel you. L-Dub, the plug in the building.
L-Dub, we already, but we're not talking about the financials because no one can argue with a finance. But continue, Jeff.
No, you chopped in and out. I actually want you to repeat it. Your voice is chopping in and out.
No, I said, L-Dub is no one is arguing whether financially Adrian Fury is a super fight. No one can make the argument. Blunt's point isn't about the financials. He's just talking about inside the ring.
Yeah, I leave the finances up to y'all guys, man. I'm about the craft in itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, y'all talk rings around me when they're talking numbers and promoters and backdoor handshakes and all of that. Y'all got that. I'm talking about in-ring performances. That's my lane. That's where I try to stick to. That's why I bring you the numbers and things like that. And the fellas can do all the rest of that. So you can argue with them about, the numbers and things like that.
L-Dub said Tyson versus Spinks was a super fight. Do we agree with that?
I disagree, bro. Those are all elder statesmen, bro. I mean, to me, the super fight of that era would have been Lennox Lewis in his prime, Mike Tyson in his prime.
I'm trying to think, was that a super fight for me?
You know what had the potential at the time to be a super fight, but based on the results, wasn't Bruce Seldon, Mike Tyson. Bruce Seldon was on a hell of a run on HBO. Turned that boy Joe Hit face into hamburger meat. Did a bunch of good stuff. Solid dude. Then you came in and took a literal dive across the ring. So your in-ring performance didn't make it a super fight. But beforehand, people probably could have considered a super fight. Two gorillas going at it.
So I would say Tyson Spinks was probably more so of a super fight than Tyson Seldon. Seldon, because his name wasn't like popping in the streets, I would have considered that a good test.
That's not true, Jeff. That's not true.
Seldon name wasn't popping in the streets.
That's not. Seldon was on He was on a 3-fight winning streak on HBO. They were using him in replace of Mike Tyson being, going through whatever he was going through at the time. I think it was with the broad and getting married and all that kind of shit.
Yes, Seldon's name was popping with the hardcores. His name was
I'm a hardcore.
I know, but part of it being a super fight does have to be both guys' names got to be kind of popping. You know what I'm saying? Like we know Spinks' name was popping at that time. We know his name was popping at that time.
What was Spinks doing? What was Spinks doing at that time? Seriously.
Spinks' name was popping. I'm not talking about what he was doing. I'm saying his name was popping.
Didn't Spinks move up weight class for that fight?
Yeah. Yep.
So again, disadvantage, not a super fight. Well, probably a super fight, but I don't know. Just because you have a family name, okay, that's again. There's a line like we're in the middle of the street and we almost about to shake hands, but we keep, what I'm saying, not getting close enough, bro. Because
the reason. I wasn't alive in the 90s or the 80s when that fight took place, but a lot of the things. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
A lot of the things that I remember, especially when my dad talks about, is the fact that the narrative at the time was that Spinks was the only one who can give Mike Tyson a challenge.
Yeah.
That was the narrative. I'm not saying it's true, but that was what they were trying to paint as a picture. This is the only guy that can give Mike Tyson a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, now if that was the narrative, we seen the results. So should we believe any of them people that was talking before the fight?
But then
or should you listen to people like myself?
But then
that's gonna steer you in the right direction.
But then it works in the flip side, because then you have people who will say going into the Buster Douglas fight, that's not a super fight, because that was far from a 50-50 until Buster Douglas knocked Mike Tyson out in what was a
that wasn't a super fight. That just was a classic because of the significance of the upset. That wasn't a super fight.
I mean, I thought it was a super fight. I thought it was a super fight based on the fact that it went down in Japan.
And both of them got knocked down in the fight. It was a nip and tuck fight.
That's what I'm saying. The results. Hold up. Let me cook for a second. The results on Mike's worst day on the planet at that time, he still knocked the motherfucker out. Because literally, Buster Douglas got the 12 count. So I'm just saying, on Mike's worst day, he still knocked the motherfucker out.
I just want to quote you real quick, Vlog, and you tell me whether I'm tripping. You said it can't be a super fight if we already know the result. That man was a 42-1 dog.
No, that's what I'm saying. The in the ring results, what happened in the ring made that a super fight, in my estimation.
Does it make it a super fight or a classic? Is it a super fight or a classic?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Hold up. No, a little bit of both. Super fight based on the numbers. Because remember, I guess numbers pertain in this conversation. You see what I'm saying? So the numbers at 42-1 say super fight.
I would be more comfortable saying it's historical before I say it's a super fight. But I'm trying to come on y'all side of the street now. Bro. It's an interesting conversation because this is probably the first time we've kind of gone back and forth, but we're not necessarily disagreeing. You know what I mean? I can hear everybody's point. L-Dub said Tyson made 22 million. Spinks made 13 million in 1988. Super fight. Listen, going into the fight, L-Dub, matter of fact, L-Dub, do me a big favor, bro. Give me your direct description of what a super fight is, and can a fight become a super fight because of the results? Get at it. Fury versus AJ is a super fight in the UK.
I don't like that statement.
Why?
I don't like that statement. Super fights are super fights, regardless of location. I don't like the
I agree with that. Bro. I agree with that. Because look, we just talking about Shane is right. We're just talking about a fight that happened in Japan. So he's right. Super fights are super fights.
Because I give you an example, Jeff. For that, then we might as well say then Junior Farr versus Joseph Parker was a super fight for New Zealand.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
That's not a super fight, bro.
Yeah, but it wasn't a super fight in the US though. Maybe in their eyes, maybe. But I give a better example. I give a better example, bro. I give a better example. Eubank and Ben was a super fight, but neither one of them was known in the States. But nobody can tell me that wasn't a super fight. That's a classic example of a super fight being a super fight in one place and not in another.
But the reason why this is why I feel like that's a bit different. Because in this scenario, you can arguably say that, in fact, you can't arguably say this is you can arguably say that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world, in the entire world. So regardless of where regardless of where you want to regard it as a super fight, Tyson Fury is the best fighter in the world. So if American fans don't see that as a super fight, I can't see like it. To me, it's a bit of a cloudy area there, because at no time was Nigel Benn or Eubank considered the best at their weight class in the world, whereas Tyson Fury is. So to me, that's a bit different. You know, super fights. You know,
is that wasn't a super fight?
What?
Ben and Eubank? I
think it was a super fight.
Yeah, I'm just saying this. I made that example just to say that there are a few examples where I can actually make that claim. I can look at it from that way. It's not many.
But for me,
mm-hmm.
It's either a super fight for the sport or it's not a super fight for the sport. And to me,
I will say
I don't want to hear someone say that's a super fight for the UK.
So
it's a super fight for the sport. That's it.
So how would you label, because it's a global sport, is it not fair to categorize like that?
No. Because it's either, is this historical for the sport? Is it a historical night for the sport? You know, like
real quick, man, hit that thumbs up, man. Let's get them algorithms cracking.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that, man. I need for y'all to hit that like button, man. We got a new ticker and it says hit that like button. So I'm gonna repeat, hit that like button.
What for example, you know, what can I say? I'm trying to figure out a fight that wasn't in the, like, use Eubank as an example, but I'm just trying to say, like, in boxing itself, you know, if a fight's big for the sport, it's big for the sport. If it's a super fight for the sport, it's a super fight for the sport. It's got nothing to do with whether it's a big fight in America or whatever. It's about whether it's a big fight for the sport.
Was Roy Tony a super fight?
In my opinion,
no. Be careful.
In my opinion, no.
Vlog?
I say yes, based on what happened inside the ring. Clash of styles, bro. You know what I mean? You get clash of styles and it shows out in the ring. Yeah, you could say that. But then, you know, you could get a little, it's a little bit of asterisk there, because, you know, your boy James, you know what I mean? He had that, you know, that Reynoso pack before Reynoso had it. So I'm just saying.
And more importantly, why I don't see it as a super fight, and I feel like that fight didn't stand the test of time to me.
Right. So the reason I mention that is because you kind of stole my thunder. Now, y'all know those two guys are in my top 5 in terms of favorites of all time. Now,
there go mine.
There you go. And here's the thing, like, it was considered a super fight going in, but it wasn't considered a super fight coming out. You know what I mean?
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Literally, I remember, I know Shane, you wasn't like right there at the time, but going into the fight, these were the 2 top guys in the division for all the juice, all the marbles. Everybody wanted to see it. The build-up was crazy. That's where the original face-offs was going down. That's where the original face-offs was going down.
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
And this is mainly for Blunt. Blunt, is Errol Spence and Crawford a super fight?
Hold on. Let me get through the comments. Hold on. Let me get through the comments real quick. And I'm gonna let Vlog cook on that.
There's a reason why I'm asking, by the way.
Yeah, Southgate. He said Fury versus AJ is a huge fight for sure, but to me, a super fight is a Crawford Spence, the best against the best. When people are on the fence, same as Pac versus Mayweather. I'm gonna run through them. L-Dub, Tyson Spinks build up is way bigger than any heavyweight super fight since. Dub, I will say this: that build, like that build up was heavy. That build up was heavy. I don't agree with the last part of that statement, but that build up was heavy. It was heavy. L-Dub, Spinks was considered the heavyweight champion after beating Holmes twice. He beat Cooney, which was a huge fight for casuals. Agreed. He has some momentum. Southgate when AJ and Wilder were undefeated, that would have been a super fight if they had to fight. Tyson Fury versus Wilder was questionable as a super fight, the first fight, because of Fury inactivity. My guy, YSM Sports Media, said super fights are determined before the fight, not during or after.
Oh shit! What the fuck?
Hold on.
Man,
whoa. Real quick,
see, you know what it is. Let me say this real quick. YSM.
Hold on, real quick. First of all, big shout out to the hottest media dude out here, man. YSM Sports Media, man. Family of the show. Let me get that out the way. Number two, I still have not seen the like button pop up on my screen. I don't know if it's something wrong with the like button or y'all hitting it twice. I don't know what's going on. Hit it one time for your boy. YSM, that is a very interesting comment, and I'm gonna let Vlog cook on that. Go ahead, bro.
YSM, we got historical base to say the last part of that is inaccurate, because the results of just take Gotti Ward, where there was no real major title on the line, shows that what can happen in a fight can make it a super fight, can make it something that lasts the ages. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, the platform they was on, HBO, you know what I mean, one of the big historical media platforms that was around for boxers. So they did the whole setup, made it a super fight, and then they did it 3 times. So obviously there's a super fight based on what happened inside the ring, because if the competition inside the ring wasn't up to par, there would have been no reason to run it back. You see what I'm saying? So I think you were a little bit off when you say that what happens inside the ring doesn't make things a super fight. The gawking and selling 1,000, 100 million tickets don't make a super fight, bro, because you could go in there and somebody not perform. So how is that a super fight?
So
just because y'all said it 1,000 times before the fight?
Blunt, let me ask you a question. That's why I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is Crawford and Spence a super fight?
Yes, it is.
So let's
say... For two reasons. I'm going to give them to you. All right.
Let's say Spence knocks Crawford out in one round. That means it's not a super fight no more, is it?
No, the results still prove it's a super fight.
How? You just...
Hold up. You never let me finish answering why.
Go ahead.
You never let me finish? Because you get 2 guys that donuts, actively fighting on winning streaks, top of their game right now. What happened inside the ring can take a little steam off of it. If you're saying Crawford or Spence knocked one or the other out in the first round, it take a little steam off of it. Yeah, but the setup tells me it's a super fight. You talking undisputed at the welterweight division. Come on, bro. It's hard as hell to get 2 motherfuckers in the same room to get 4 motherfuckers in the room. So I'm just saying the setup makes it a super fight. Donuts mean a lot. Competition that you beaten to get to that.
I believe Spence and Crawford was a super fight, because that stands. My definition has stayed the same all the way through, bro. Does the fight stand the test of time? That's why I said James Toney and Roy Jones Jr. isn't a super fight. That's why I'm saying Spinks and Mike Tyson isn't a super fight, even though it didn't stand the test. Even though at the time it had a big build up, it didn't stand the test of time. So
did Roy even have a super fight?
So let me
because it didn't stand the test of time.
So let me go back to his comment. He says super fights are determined before the fight, not during or after. So YSM, this question is for you. Matter of fact, everybody in the comment section, y'all can jump in this.
After y'all hit that like,
Roy, I need for y'all to hit that like button. I just need that. Was Roy Jones, James Toney a super fight? Give me yes or no in the comment section. L Dub says Shane, that's facts. Dub, Lennox Lewis versus Frank Bruno was not a super fight in the States, but it was in the UK in 93.
It wasn't a super fight, bro. That's not a super fight. Super fights are super fights for boxing. It's not for specific regions, bro.
How big was it? How big was it in the UK though?
It's a big fight in the UK, but there's many fights that's big in the UK, bro. That doesn't mean it's a super fight.
Vlog, watch this. Shane, would your dad say that was a super fight?
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He wouldn't.
Tell your dad I need him to get on camera.
But the reason why he wouldn't is because in his eyes, you got to remember, my dad thought Lennox Lewis would beat everyone. So he already saw that as a person that it was an easy win. So he's not going to see a super fight stands. Bro, Pacquiao and Floyd is a super fight. Ali and Fraser is a super fight.
Hold on, but so can I ask a question? I didn't ask no questions all show. Can I ask one question? You said Mayweather and Pac was a super fight.
Yep.
Does what happened inside the ring still make it a super fight?
Yes, because in 50 years' time, they're still going to be talking about that fight. That's the only reason why. Because in 50 years' time, they're going to be talking about that fight.
So in 50 years, you think people going to be talking about how AJ lost 3 in a row and got knocked out in the third one?
If he loses to Fury, they're going to be talking about Fury. Wait 1 second. If he loses to Fury, they will be talking about Fury as the greatest heavyweight of this era, and they will say he beat AJ. That's what they will say. That's what they will say.
If they say he's the greatest heavyweight of this era, that is a knock on this era. And I'm not going to lie, bro. I'm from some hard eras. I've been around many moons. These cats out here is tabletop butter soft, bro. I'm just saying.
I don't think it's a knock on this era because what era do you want to go back to? And then I'll ridicule every single era. Let's go to any era. We're gonna go to.
Didn't I tell you this boy heart colder than a hooker on the streets? Didn't I tell you?
Yo,
what I tell you when he came in here?
You hear that echo, Shane?
No,
that ain't me. That's in your house. Tell that parakeet to shut the fuck up.
All right, go ahead.
But the reason why we can go into every era, bro. Muhammad Ali lost to Spinks. Spinks is not an elite fighter, bro, but he lost to Spinks. You know, we could go into even Rocky Marciano, who's seen as one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. How many world title fights did he actually have in his entire career? Not many, and all he fought was old, washed-up fighters. You know, we can go into any era, and I could ridicule every single fighter, bro. Like, if you want to pick and choose, Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. He wasn't an elite fighter. Lennox Lewis lost to Hasim Rahman. He wasn't an elite fighter. Riddick Bowe basically lost to Galata. He wasn't an elite fighter. Bro, what? You can't pinpoint and you can't look at certain things and say pros there and not talk about the cons. In every era, there's cons. So yes, AJ lost to Usyk and he lost to Andy Ruiz, but he also beat Andy Ruiz. He also fought against Usyk, who is a very, very good fighter. Lennox Lewis lost to Buster Douglas. He didn't rematch Buster Douglas and beat Buster Douglas. So if you can lose to somebody and that not diminish Mike Tyson's reputation, then why is it diminishing AJ's? It's the same thing with Muhammad Ali. He lost to Spinks. He ran it back with Spinks and won. So that's my point. Like, you can't just look at an era and then just ridicule them because of the lowest points, but not look at the highest points. That's why I'm saying you can't pick and choose. You can't stand on one side of the street one week and stand on another side of the street the next week.
Yeah, I just had to put him on mute. It is his side. Listen to it.
A bunch of fucking noise. Fuck.
Go ahead, Vlog. You want to respond to that?
Fuck.
You want to respond to that, man?
Nah, man. I'm these motherfuckers over here making all this goddamn noise. That's that fucking echo you heard. I'm about to make some goddamn noise, man. I'm tired of this shit, bro. Every time I'm trying to do something, these people around here want to act like they ain't had all day to do the shit that they do. What the fuck, bro? Go ahead, put me on mute, man.
All
right, cool.
You can read that off, Shane?
Fury and AJ is not a super fight to me. They don't relate to me or my people. But as a hardcore, it's a super fight because I love the support. I get what you're saying, but bro, you're walking on a very fine line when you say that, bro. You walk on a very fine line when you say that, because if you're saying they don't represent you or your people or whatever, then I have to start questioning. I have to really start questioning what you actually regard as a super fight. Because in my opinion, there's many fights that I think represent the people that want super fights, and then there's many fights that I feel don't represent the people but were super fights. I can give you multiple examples of people who, white fighters, for example, two white fighters fighting each other that many people regard as a super fight.
I'm gonna let Vlog cook up.
I mean, it sounds like all of us are kind of, standing the fence, but it's like we teetering, because I mean, just to say that it's not a super fight, but then L-Dub bring up other fights that we disagree with, like that was, to me, that wasn't a super fight. Just because Spinks got paid for that don't mean it was a super fight, because at the time of that fight, Spinks was the elder statesman. So it's a fine line. Yeah, I think the way we could break this down finally, a super fight can only be to that person. It starts with that fan, that boxing fan. That's where it starts, and then to each individual fan. That's all I could say.
Go ahead, Shane.
Now, I was gonna say I agree with Blunt when he spoke about Spinks, because, bro, ain't nobody talking about Spinks versus Mike Tyson, bro. Ain't nobody talking about Spinks versus Mike Tyson. And that fight, bro, we're 20 years down the line, and we would rather watch George Foreman versus Ali.
Let me run through these comments real quick. YSM said casuals determine if it is a super fight. L-Dub said Jones versus Tony super fight. L-Dub.
Based on what though? Why is that a super fight? Why is that a super fight? I don't agree with that. I don't see how Jones versus Tony is a super fight. And I love Roy Jones Jr., but I don't see how that's a super fight.
Let me talk. Remember I just said a super fight starts with the individual fan. Yeah. So so let me correct myself and say, for the Boxing Voice who started all of this, maybe it's a super fight for them, and let it be. So I apologize, Boxing Voice, if I disagree with you.
Fair enough. Hold on, let me run through the rest of these. He said, Shane, you wasn't even born in it. Shane, you wasn't even born in 88. How would you know?
I wasn't born in 1988. And the fact that I wasn't born in 1988 proves to me it wasn't a super fight. Because guess what? I wasn't born in the 1960s. I wasn't born in the 1970s. I wasn't born in the 1980s. But guess what? Leonard versus Hagler is a super fight, because I'm in 2021 or 2022, sorry, and people still talk about that fight as a historic fight. People ain't talking about Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson versus Spinks, bro. That's just a fact. That is just a fact.
Are we talking about Floyd and Pac now?
The difference with that though, Jeff, is with Floyd and Pac. Bro, that done 300 million pay-per-view. That done 300. Floyd made 300 million off that fight.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of categories and it's a lot of layers to this super fight question. Because to be honest with you, I think all of us have given an example of a super fight and kind of contradicted our core definition of it.
That is a contradiction, but for me, that's an exception, because I ain't talking about Floyd and Pac.
I did. I said what happens inside the ring is the access for me, the crust of it for what's a super fight. The build up is a support factor to me. So like you said, the layers, it's just the layers in this individual. It's to that individual. Like L-Dub say the numbers with Mike and Spinks was, one of the first super fights, I guess, coming into this modern era. So I mean, I can't disagree with it. I didn't know Spinks got that much. God damn.
Yeah. YSM super fight terminology is predicated on hype. Gotti versus Ward 1 was a classic, not a super fight. I would agree with that. I agree with that. Actually, a couple of these examples I would say are classics.
I agree with that, but then I feel certain fights, like, the way I would disagree with that is then you can bring in this argument of where is the publicity, because if we're keeping it real And if we're keeping it all the way 100, if we're talking about build up, Errol Spence and Crawford is not a super fight then. If we're being honest,
I gotta slightly disagree with you, Shane. I gotta get on camera for this one too. Hold on, man. Let me hit this shit real quick. The buildup has already been there for this fight, bro. It's just it hasn't been from the mainstream media just yet. Why? Because there's nothing inked on paper. So I think the buildup is there. They gotta crust. They gotta do all. They gotta put the filler. That's all we wait for. And that's the contract to be signed.
Why I say, and the proof is in the pudding, bro. Why I say the build-up ain't there and that hasn't captured the imagination of the fan is because that fight ain't doing 1 million pay-per-views.
But because of the significance of the fight.
No, bro. I'm saying it's a super fight.
So,
but
okay,
you can't say then that Shane, it's about build-up. But then Shane, the fight doesn't do 1 million pay-per-views.
So I'll give you okay. So you wasn't around for the Jones and Tony. Jones and Tony is equivalent to Spence Bud in terms of what's going on right now. So the same reason why you're saying that Bud and Spence is a super fight is the same reason why a lot of people feel that Jones and Tony was.
I get you, but I actually feel it's difficult.
I'm just talking about the feel. Actually, you know what? That's a good question for YSM. Why answer that?
I think Crawford and Spence will stand the test of time.
Because I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm kind of just trying to paint the picture.
Crawford and Spence will stand the test of time, whereas James Toney and Roy Jones didn't.
Okay. Go ahead, Vlog.
I gotta disagree with you, Jeff, man. I think it was only that based on what I said earlier, the fans' perspective. And you are a big fan of James Toney, his style. I am too. I thought the matchup style-wise was a super fight. But, you know, again, going with Shane, it didn't really stand the test of time, bro. And that's based on what happened to Roy Jones. You see what I'm saying? So I think we got to look at what's happening to AJ and say, is this really a super fight? And each fan has to ask themselves that question. If you're a fan of Anthony Joshua, ask yourself, damn, bro, you getting another opportunity. Is this that big?
I'm actually gonna change my mind in one of the statements I say. I'm actually gonna change my mind in one of the statements I'm gonna say and agree with Blunt and say AJ and Fury is a super fight predicated on the performance. Reason being is because I'm not sure that fight stands the test of the time if it's a one-sided fight.
But so let me ask both of y'all this question. I'm gonna go with the stand the test of time. You can make that same case for a classic. Like what you would consider a classic fight is a fight that stands the test of time.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
Give me an example.
David Tuat versus Ike Biabuchi. That's a classic.
What year? Hold on, Shane. What year was that?
I think 1999.
What year is this?
2022.
Yeah, so it was a classic. That's a classic.
But
it's a classic, bro. That's a classic.
Would you say that's a classic, but it's not stood the test of time?
Yes, it has, because it's 2022 and we talking about it right now.
But we're hardcore. The casual's not going to talk about that fight.
Yeah, but with casuals is out of this when it comes down to a classic. Super but fights we can include
out of it when it comes to super fights though.
They're not out of it when it comes to super fights, but classics though, that's some hardcore shit.
Yeah.
People talk about Tua Ibeabuchi right now. That's a classic. People
talk about James Toney and Roy Jones, but they're not going to talk.
But see that fight wasn't a classic. The build up, they built that fight up like it was a super fight, but that fight wasn't a classic. That fight wasn't really competitive. It wasn't.
It's like
I got a fight that'll tell us the difference between a super fight and a classic. The rematch between Matisse and Adarosian. I hope I'm saying dude's name correctly. You know, I butcher these names, but to me, that's a classic. That's a fight that'll be talked about as this dude is, you know, going towards this title run that he's gonna be on.
What was the fight again?
Gabriel Matisse.
Adariason, something like that.
I don't even know how to pronounce that dude's name.
Yeah, but dude, bro, that fight was, I'm telling you, bro, I could watch that fight right now and just be like, God damn, I'm questioning, you know, I could still say, damn, old boy can win because it was back and forth. So to me, there is a difference between classic and super fights.
Look at Devin Haney and Kambosos. That was for the lightweight undisputed championship of the world. That fight wasn't competitive. That fight didn't make mega money. And we can all agree that in probably a year's time, not even 20 years' time, we ain't going to be talking about that fight. But the historic value of it is the fact that it was an Australian fight. American traveled abroad, and it was for all the marbles. The first lightweight undisputed championship in the 4-belt era. Historic. Now, we got to find a way to gauge that, because you got historical fights, and then you got fights that's just super fights, and you got fights that's classics. For me, a classic is what's done in the ring. A super fight is what stands the test of time. And the historical fight is like when you can bring yourself back in that moment and the accomplishment.
It's a mix of both.
Mix
of both. Let me run through these comments real quick, and then I'm gonna get Vlog back up in here. Bro, hey Vlog, we gotta figure out what the echo is, because it did that on the last show too. And I don't know.
I didn't even hear it on the last show.
Not the show y'all did, the one before that. I had to cut it because I know Bruce heard it, so I know it wasn't just me. We gotta figure it out though. L Dub laughing. L Dub UK super fights. That's funny.
It's a dumb. I mean, I don't want to say dumb, but for someone of L Dub's boxing understanding, I don't expect a statement like that.
The one thing I will say though, Shane, is to be honest with you, is in a sense, me personally, I don't know how he's saying it, but I know the UK is so big in terms of how they support their fighters. They support their fighters and they support their fights like no other. So I can actually look at that comment and actually take it as a damn compliment. I can take it as a damn compliment in a sense.
But my statement is, let me ask you a question. If a fight's big in America, it's a super fight. But and it's only big in America. If it's only big in America, it's a super fight. But if it's big in the UK and multiple other countries, it's just a super fight in the UK. Does that make sense?
Well, it depends on how you look at the sport.
Because the sport's bigger than just America.
Understood, but but you got to think about it though. The UK is much smaller than the US.
Of course.
The US, but the UK actually puts in way more work than the US.
Let me give you an example.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. Klitschko versus AJ. That was not a super fight in America.
Correct.
But it was a super fight in Europe.
Right.
And that wasn't just one country. It was an entire continent.
Yeah.
It had that fight had more international pay-per-view sales than any other fight in the last 10, any other heavyweight fight in the last 10 years.
So,
but it wouldn't be considered as a super fight. It would only be considered as a UK super fight. But it's an international super fight because it sold more in multiple countries than any other American fight.
So would you feel comfortable? Would you feel comfortable saying there's an international super fight?
I would feel comfortable in saying a fight's either a super fight for boxing or it's not a super fight at all. So for me, either a fight's a big for boxing, like a Spence versus Crawford is a super fight for boxing. It probably will do less than 100,000 pay-per-view buys outside of the United States of America. But guess what? It's still a super fight for boxing. Or it's not a super fight at all. It can't be regionalized into specific areas. That doesn't make sense then. What makes it a super fight is the fact that it's super globally.
It's interesting strictly because you can make the same claim for Ben and Eubank. Like nobody could tell me that wasn't a super fight in my eyes, and I'm in the US. But I know a lot of motherfuckers slept on that fight, and they still there's a lot of people in the US that probably still hasn't seen none of the trilogy.
But you know what? You could I would entertain that argument if someone said to me, "Well, you know what? Eubank versus Ben wasn't a super fight because it didn't bridge the gap internationally." I'll say, you know what? That's a fair statement to me. That's fair. But
see,
then you can't look at me, Jeff, and say that that's not a super fight. But then look at me and say that James Toney and Roy Jones is, because that didn't do the exact that done less than Ben and Eubank did.
And that was so Eubank and Ben to me was not only a super fight, but a classic.
Yeah.
And historical. Like it checks all three of the boxes.
Facts.
So if anybody in the US told me that's not a super fight, I'm gonna tell you need to do your homework. You understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you need to do your homework. But you got, like you said, you got the the Klitschko fight. A lot of people, it did historical numbers, but you ask people the US is kind of like the X factor in this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And if we're going back to Blunt's point, Blunt, was Klitschko versus AJ not a 50-50 fight? Was it not, based on what you saw in the ring, a matchup where stylistically it was a super fight if you were looking at styles and how it was in terms of entertainment value? So that has to be considered as a super fight.
What you got, Block?
Y'all got to excuse the noise, man. I'm over here by this army base, and these motherfuckers with these jets flying. So anyway, I consider that a super fight based on, I think we knew it was a changing of the guards that was going to happen, the anticipation of the changing of the guards. So the build up helps to a super fight. Numbers help to a super fight. Results help to a super fight. You see what I'm saying? So, man, we all right, goddamn it. You know what I mean? But I do disagree with L-Dub with the UK thing, bro. Shane, little homie, he be on point so many times. The bull be fine tooth with it. And a super fight is a super fight no matter where it takes place. If it's good for the sport, then, it's just a super fight.
If it's good for the sport, it's good for the sport. You can't say it's good for the sport in UK, but it's not good for then it's not good for the sport then. Bro, because to me, guess what? Eubank Jr. versus Ben is a good fight for UK, but it's a crap fight for the sport. It is a trash fight for the sport. So that is not a super fight.
So let's close it out this way. Let me close it out this way. So a fight that's good for the sport is a super fight. Now, if it's more of a super fight in one area than another area, then what we need to do, G5 Jeff TV, VP Shane, Boxing First Vlog, L Dub, YSM, and Boxing Voice, and a lot of other media outlets, we need to get people to do their homework. We need to put people on game for fights that we would consider super fights, classics, historical fights, and we need for people to catch up. We need for people to catch up.
I will never disrespect the Boxing Voice, but the truth is, the Boxing Voice, Ellie Setback, and all of those dudes, I don't, and I'll say this with all fairness in my heart and all honesty, and I don't want to be rude when I say this, but I don't consider these dudes true to the game. I don't consider these dudes true to the game. These fans are fans, or these people are people who, for their own benefit, and there's no problem, I love people who are making their own money, but they will run with the narrative that can engage the most public and get them the most traction and views. And guess what? It gets them money. So I give them so much credit for that. But where my retraction is because I've seen a lot of these fighters, especially of recent, sorry, not fighters, these publications, especially of recent, they would rather cover fights that are gonna get them hits than fights that are good for the sport of boxing. And that's where that's where my issue is. Because
and
I will never forget this, bro. Sorry to cut you off, Jeff. I will never forget this. KSI was fighting Logan Paul. I'll never forget this. KSI was fighting Logan Paul, and every single publication in the entire country, I remember everybody was at that KSI and Logan Paul fight. And on the same day, Jamel Herring was fighting Lamont Roach. Do you remember that, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't find the interview. You couldn't find nobody speaking to nobody. That was a real WBA super featherweight title fight that not one publication went to. Everybody was at KSI. And that's when it dawned on me that none of these dudes are true to the game. None of these dudes. You will never see Blunt do that. Not even if it was money involved, because he's true to the game. You got to be true to this sport. You got to be true to it. And that's why I don't really care about what these publications say, because they don't cater for me. They cater for the fair weather fans.
Let me cap that off too. Hold on, let me read this comment. Big shout out to T Finney in the building, man. AKA the legend. Go subscribe to his channel. Definitely check his podcast out. He says salute. Was Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton a super fight? To me, it was. Hold on, before we answer that, I gotta cap off what Shane said. And L Dub, I don't know if you're still listening, but the reason why we say the things that we say is because you're one of the few that are about as hardcore can get. I remember L Dub going to an all-female card in California. He went to an all-female card in California. I think it was in Carson. And he literally hit me and was like, yo, bro, I'm about to go hit this fight and all that. And it was an all-female card. Like, there's some dudes that's just different when it comes down to covering the sport, how they feel about the sport. Your hardcore meter is either up here or it's like down here. Like, the stuff that L Dub talks about on Twitter and all that, and if you listen to his podcast, it's next level shit. Like, it's next level shit. You know what I'm saying? But then when you come on here, you're going to get your education as well. There's not many of us. We're in the minority. It's not many of us out here that's really putting in like major work. And you have a lot of listeners, and you have to determine what you're going to listen to. Are you going to listen to what's going on with the masses? Or are you going to listen to people that's really getting busy? Like really getting busy out here. Like L Dub get busy. Like BoxingFirstVlog gets busy. Shane is basically here, but we say it all the time. Like, every time he puts up an Instagram post, like, every damn big name in the industry views it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he get busy. Like, YSM gets busy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cheeto gets busy. There's a lot of dudes that gets busy.
To me, as long as you're staying like someone like Blunt, this dude will watch every single betting line for every fight on the undercard, main event, even if it's not a big promotion. Facts. YSM, this dude goes to the gym and he will interview anyone in the gym because he's in the gym. That's staying true to the sport. I'll tell you this for free, bro. And I know this because I know a lot of these people in the industry. If the views weren't there and the views equal money weren't there, these dudes wouldn't be doing this, bro. And I'm not saying they should. Because the truth is, everybody's got to keep the lights on. Everybody's got to feed their family. But if that's what your lane is, you can't feed me. You see my point? You can't. If that's your lane, then that's your lane. I don't even pay you any attention. And it's not even a disrespectful thing. It's just a case of, you ain't for me, because you already have shown your true colors that you're that type of media person.
And Shane, let me say this as well, man. And this is why I say, like, I go off and I be like, yo, why is the hottest media dude in the sport? I'm gonna tell you the real reason why I think he's the hottest dude in the sport. Right? It ain't got nothing to do with numbers or nothing like that. When it comes down to it, yo, like he will give you a post, he'll give you a video about Bud and Spence, and then he'll give you an interview with a dude from Jersey that you never heard of. Probably the only people that know him is the people on his block. And he'll interview him for a good 20, 25 minutes and go drop that joint. Prospects, the whole nine. Like he gives it to you in every area. That's the difference between somebody doing this to, like Shane said, to get at $1. And listen, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. That's cool. I'm cool with that. Just know that more times than not, people are coming to you because you're popular, not because you really putting in that work. You understand what I'm saying? Like people come to us because we put in that work. You know what I'm saying? Because if it was based off of numbers, like nobody would watch us. But I'm like, there's people that watch us every day, all day, because they know we get busy. There's a difference between getting busy in boxing and you just popular in boxing. I need for y'all to understand that going forward. Actually, we can close this one out. This was a good one. Vlog, you got any final thoughts for us and give us your social media and all that too, bro?
Oh man, they shut me down on Twitter, bro. I don't know what happened, man. Yeah, I guess they ain't like my comment. I had pinned it, yo. These goofballs was getting at me, and I had the bull was like he was at the gym, and he said something. So I pinned this comment where I told the boy, I said, man, well, I got something, put that 6-pack on ice, you know what I mean? And I just left it at that. And I guess, you know, months later, these fools took my little page down and shit. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know what I mean? I ain't threatening dude or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know what I mean? But it was a little bit back and forth with some clowns, though, some real clowns, some goofies, you know what I mean? But it was nothing. But I'm on IG heavy, man. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be on IG like I live on it. You feel me? So check me out, though, man. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on the podcast on my channel, you know what I mean? And I'll start putting up some other videos later this week. Got a fight that I'm really keying in on. It's a cat from Shane's side. His name is Kyron Conway, middleweight, ranked number 10 with the WBA.
Conway. I know. Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking this gonna be real. I think we need to put that on the site. I really do. Thinking we need to put that on the site. My 1-2.
I don't know about that, but he's a decent fighter. I'm actually wondering if I've seen this dude fight live. I think I might have. He's on the Frank Warren card, correct?
Yeah, that's on
I've most likely seen him fight live. Most likely.
I'm just saying, bro. We talking about enhancing the prediction league, and to me, this is a fight that you know what I mean, you can get the right call, some good points. So, you know, just a thought.
Go ahead, Shane.
Well, I ain't got nothing else to say other than I need to go sleep. But I'm Shane the number 1. That's how you can find me on Instagram. Really and truly, I don't really do anything big on Instagram other than like post on my story and stuff. To be fair, like I need to be careful on Instagram because I always keep thinking that I can say what I want, but I can't.
Yo,
I got a bit of I ranted on the fact that they cancelled the show. They cancelled the show, the Sky Sports show last week, and Sky Sports actually viewed my post. So I'm pretty sure I ain't getting no more accreditations from Sky no more. So I guess I need to be careful when I say
so. Okay, all right, I'm gonna let me tell y'all where I'm at, and then I'm gonna touch on that real quick, and then we get up out of here. So I'm all over the place, man. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, G5JeffTV, website G5JeffTV.com. Please join the Prediction League, man. It is imperative that you join the Prediction League, man. $500 for the first place, $200 for the second place, $100 for the third place. We got head to head, all that free to play. Get on in there now. To cap off what Shane said before we roll, Shane dropped the post about them canceling the fights, right? Who looks at it? Clarissa Shields,
Alicia Baumgardner,
and Scott
Ben Shalom, boxer.
Yeah, so Shane, I told Shane like a while ago. I said, yo, you a young legend in these streets, man. You're a young legend in these boxing streets. And I told him, I said, he won't recognize it until about 5-10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? Which is going to be cool when he recognizes it. But the good thing about what we do is we don't have to watch what we say. Like, we really don't at the end of the day, man. But this was a good one, man. Hour 25 minutes strong. But listen, man, on behalf of Boxing First Vlog, aka the General, aka Blunt, aka Blunt Bayless, aka Mr. 1K. Got my man VP Shane, aka Ice Cold Shane, and your boy G5 Jeff TV, aka G5, aka 5, aka the Guru. On behalf of the staff, we will be back tomorrow with episode 126. Appreciate y'all. See y'all tomorrow.